I've broken up my presentation is initially, I'm going to introduce what is facial recognition and how it's been sold to us as a public across the world and how it's being used. Then I'll kind of move to sharing, how cameras and surveillance has been set up in China and across the world and how that is being sold to us. From there, we'll, transition to how a digital panopticon that's being built for our safety and security. And then I'll switch to, a little bit on, I'll talk about smart cities and, how all the smart light infrastructure and all the surveillance is connected to, helping us along in the future. That's being sarcastic. And from there, I'll make a transition to, actually how the digital identity is going to be used in the future and how it's going to be implemented through the internet and all our devices. So how does facial recognition work? Most of us, we use these smartphones, and the benefits to us and how it's been introduced is that, it unlocks your phone and it's convenient, and it's also for our safety and security. So the way it works is there's an invisible or infrared projector inside your phone, which throws a beam of light. It's like actually what they call a structured light pattern. And that pattern gets distorted on your face. And that distortion is unique for every face in the world. And some sort of a formula is computed, and that formula is then matched to the formula and dots that have been stored in the phone. And then it unlocks your phone when it authenticates your identity. When you're looking at facial recognition cameras which are not in your phone, then that equation or the dot pattern is compared with millions of other images and faces in order to verify your authenticity. So that's how facial recognition works in devices and cameras. The way this has been sold to us have been the carrots. It's for convenience, of course, and it's for our safety and security. And of course, it's to catch the bad guys. It's to catch terrorists and thieves and child molesters. And as a society across the world, we've bought this story. And by the end of the presentation, or even I'd say 70% into this, you will see how the sticks are coming for all of humanity. And the sticks are going to be, sealing our fate. It's going to be really bad, right? The way it's been shown in China, Big Brother has already met big data and facial recognition and cameras. They have been computing now for a few years social credits for all the Chinese citizens. And social credits can be used to directly control the behavior of people. Right? I was at a conference in China in late 2019 in Shenzhen. And Shenzhen is kind of one of the ultimate smart cities already built by then. And this was the kind of, surveillance that you see at every intersection, every building. So they have license plate readers, they have lane detection cameras, they have face recognition cameras. They are sucking up data in real time, 24/7. And they have screens everywhere you go in railway stations, in airports. And they are telling you, we are watching you, we know who you are, and we are going to keep watching you, and you're going to be okay with it. So here's, some girls showing off their social credit scores on an app. And what that does is it controls directly your behavior and your compliance based on how the algorithms and Big Brother wants you to behave. Right? So you'll see lots of documentaries from Australia, England, United States. BBC's continues to come out with documentary about every few weeks. And the narrative is that privacy and freedom are dead in China. Social credits control system is already there in China. And implicitly, we in the Western world are free. What they don't tell you is it's already happening here. We don't have any privacy or freedom. The credit scoring system has already started, and we are not free. It's just that we have not yet been given an app to show us what our social credit scores are. At some point, they are going to do that, and it's not too far from now. Right? What is not said is that cameras per capita in the United States is greater than in China as of February 2022. And London, which is one of the supposedly free cities in the world in a free country called the United Kingdom, it's number 3 in the world in terms of cameras per 1,000 people. So the infrastructure here is in place. All the systems are in place in the West, and they are expanding. And by 2025, $2 trillion would have been spent in installing the infrastructure of cameras, surveillance, and smart cities. And by 2030, that number is going to be at $7 trillion. And these reports have all been published. That's the kind of infrastructure that's being spent. So while the world was sleeping and COVID was announced in March of 2020, and most of the places in the world were locked down, in quarantine, and the Fear TV was blasting in every home in the world, they were installing the smart city infrastructure with cameras and smart lights and smart poles. By the end of 2022, 1 billion surveillance cameras connected to the internet and to the cloud and artificial intelligence will have been installed. And that's for a population of 7 billion people. It's not to catch the bad guys, in case you hadn't figured that out. It's to catch all of us because we are all the bad guys, right? And by the end of 2022, we are going to have over 20 billion data collection cameras. That includes all our smartphones, home security cameras, your cameras in automobiles, and when you reverse in autonomous driving cars and whatnot. So that's the kind of surveillance that's being done as we speak. So in the old days, human eyeballs used to sit in front of TV screens to look at, traffic or people running, after stealing a bank or something. But that is so yesterday. Today, we have smart artificial intelligence cameras that are effectively the security guards. They're connected to the cloud, and in the cloud is running artificial intelligence, and it's identifying and analyzing and logging and learning about every human being all the time in real time. So no human beings are necessary. We are being replaced by AI in probably 70% of activities around in the world. So when are we not alone? Pretty much never, not even in our own homes. And so here is a picture of what they call a panopticon. It's a circular prison, and this is a picture of a circular prison in a state of Rhode Island in the northeast of the United States from the late 1920s. So you see that the prison guards are in the center, and they can look at all the, prison cells. So all the prisoners basically are never in a private moment, So they can be monitored all the time at the whims of the guards that are in there. What we have today is a digital panopticon. So we are effectively, both symbolically and practically, inside a prison cell. Even though you don't have the 4 walls, erected yet, computer vision, along with cameras and artificial intelligence, is looking at us, analyzing us, logging us, and learning our behavior, and then it's going to be scoring us, and then rinse and repeat. They have satellite cameras, drone cameras, they have license plate readers, they have invisible infrared cameras looking at passengers and drivers. It's ridiculous how much we are being monitored all the time. And of course, it's always in the name of safety and security and convenience. Remember those words. Anytime you hear a television head speaking or reading the newspaper or social media, beware of those 3 words. And inside your home, we are all giving up our data and helping Big Brother. And I almost know nobody in this world who doesn't use technologies from one of these companies. We are on a Zoom call, by the way. So all these companies, amongst many others, are all involved in the so-called stakeholder capitalism that's being implemented. And every time, we are using our devices or not using our devices, if we are on a network connected to the internet, data is being collected on us. So this is not about surveillance. This is about data collection, and you'll see the difference as we continue the presentation. Here's a picture at night with smart poles and smart street lights. They're being put up all around the world. The expectation is not the expectation. The reports have said that by 2030, 600 million of these street lights will have been installed around the world. Just think about that. They have these bright, oppressive LED lights, which have kind of gotten rid of a natural darkness in our lives. And these are, I'm going to show you what these are about to do. But this is being sold as smart cities, which is for not only for your convenience, it's good for the environment and for global warming and climate change. And that's how they've been ushering these in. Here's an example of a smart pole with a smart city light. They will have speakers to give instructions to people if they don't already in Australia. I think I've seen stuff from Melbourne that already has those. They'll have digital signage. It'll be sold for your convenience, but again, it's about giving instructions to people on how to behave. They're going to have face recognition cameras. They're going to have all sorts of pollution sensors. That's how they're selling it. The top of some of these lights is going to have drone charging stations. Why? Because drones are going to be the new aerial police, along with other things. And they are all going to be wirelessly connected to each other and to the internet. And this is part of the Internet of Things. And these smart cities are about data collection, number one. And we are going to see how they're going to enforce people to behave, number two. So here is a diagram on the right. This I found in a paper at the World Economic Forum website, and it was published in 2018. And the digital identity, they say, is a new chapter in the social contract. It's a social contract that nobody signed up for and nobody wants, but they are, planting this on us and going to force this on us. And every entity, person, device, and thing is going to have a digital identity. And once you sign on to a digital identity, the only way you can access healthcare or your bank finances, ability to travel, ability to access the internet, to go to social platforms or do anything in your life, to buy food, you need a digital identity. And how will that digital identity be authenticated? Through your face. So your face is the key to unlocking access to life. And this key is going to be linked to a new type of financial system, which is going to be a combination of carbon credits, your social credits or social score. The technically correct term is reputation capital. And then, of course, your status with respect to vaccines and boosters and injections. And if you don't have enough carbon score, if you don't have enough social score, or you haven't taken your latest booster, your face will not be able to unlock your digital identity, and therefore you cannot access stuff. You will be locked out of the whole new matrix system. And this is what they call central bank digital currency, or CBDCs. They may have minor variations in different countries, but this is essentially the key to understanding what sort of a new world that is going to be upon us once the final switches are turned on. And how does this link to smart cities? Because your face is going to be tracked wherever you're going. Your social score will be updated in real time based on who your friends are, or whether you're social distancing, who you are walking with, when you're walking, when were you supposed to walk, etc., etc. And the universal basic income that they are now starting to give in some countries, that's also about giving carbon credits. Your carbon credits are going to be limited per month, and that's how it's going to go. Right? So your digital identity is really a digital prison, and your face is used to unlock the digital prison if you behave. To implement this, there's a new protocol called Zero Trust in cybersecurity worlds of software and server companies that are implementing this. And so by default, we are going from a world of implicit allow to default deny. So as an example, when you log into your computer, you type in a password. And when you type in a password, you have access to all your browser, your files, your applications. But now this zero trust is about default deny. It means we don't trust you. And for everything you need to do, you'll be denied initially until you can prove that you're trustworthy. And that trust will come from face recognition and your digital identity, right? And so this is going to be the new world. It's going to be a world with locks, and anything we want to do anytime, all the time, whether you want to switch on your smart, your smart oven, or open your smart refrigerator, or get into the internet, get into Facebook, you're continuously being monitored by your face and your digital identity. So the concept of HTTPS, which is like secure authentication when you go to websites, everything is going to be removed because the algorithms and AI, they need to keep watching you and how you're behaving. They're going to be scoring your emotions. They're going to be tracking your eye movements, and everything's going to be recorded all the time. So this is where we are going if we allow this to happen. Here's an example of how zero trust principles are going to be used when you go to the new shopping paradigm, where all the doors are going to be digital screens, locked with some very heavy duty plastics or LEDs. And you want to be able to open the door without your digital ID. So digital ID is all about conditional access. So if you have your carbon credits for the month are expired, that door won't open to get beef. If you've had too much sugar for the first 2 weeks and your credits have expired for the sugar, the door won't open to get your orange juice. So these types of doors are going to have face recognition cameras, and your digital ID will be used to unlock these doors. And there's something known as smart contracts. If people don't know, you'll start reading about it. Smart contracts is really the if, then, and else logic that goes behind this digital currency with social and carbon credits. And this concept is called identity as a service. And identity as a service, there are many companies building businesses around it. They leverage companies that do face recognition as a service. And every time your or anybody's face is in front of a camera, there's a chain of corporations making money in real time. So they found everybody's face is another great way to monetize in Wall Street and beyond. And this is also going to be used for geofencing. Geofencing is a term where symbolically, basically, you're geographically, whether it's in the internet and the metaverse or in the physical world, they can build an invisible fence with your digital ID and control your access to everything. So where you can travel by airplane, or where you can drive, or how far you can drive, how far you can walk, where in the metaverse you can go, who you can communicate with, who you can text, what book you can read, what content of the book you can read, everything is going to be monitored as well as manipulated. And where you can walk, they will limit you using all these puke guns and LED lights, because they are the weapons that are going to limit how far you can walk. And that's related to the 15-minute cities and 20-minute neighborhoods that they are building right now. So the goal is to lock down humanity in these smart cities and not allow them to move anywhere, pretty much. So the digital identity is inside the Trojan horse of security and privacy. I can't stress this enough. Whenever you hear the word security and privacy, run. And this will result in total control of humans, because people will comply in order to unlock access to life. And how is they going to use this with kids? There's a concept called social and emotional learning that's been creeping into schools for many years, for the last few years. It's also known as CEL. And the goal is that all kids will be monitored from cradle to career. And cameras and face recognition and emotion recognition are going to be at the heart of this. So they can even be monitoring the emotional state of a child, and the algorithms can decide whether the child abuse is happening at home, and then they can come for the children, which they will. Here's an example of a little this purple device. It's a talk pedometer. So whenever parents are talking to their child, the audio is going up to the cloud, and AI is monitoring what the parents are telling the kids. So if you're not talking enough about global warming and climate change, your carbon credits and social credits are going to go low. So you will be controlled on what you tell your kids. In return, the kids will be getting programmed by whatever the AI wants you to tell your kids. Here's an example, and these are devices that are already in the market. These are not like futuristic devices. People are already buying them for their homes, thinking that these are really cool gadgets to get home. Here's an example of an LED game board, and it has fisheye cameras looking at the kids, and depending on how the kids are reacting, the AI board game can modify what's being shown on the screen. And so at the heart of all this is a digital ID, remember that, which requires cameras and face recognition. They're also going to be used further in human capital value extraction. So they're going to make money in securitized futures markets, much like they did it, going into the 2008 crash, where they had all these mechanisms to do layer upon layer of mortgage derivatives when the market crashed. So this is a new way of making money through faces and cameras. And so they can manipulate a child with SEL, because what the child sees on the screen and what the camera sees, how the face, it can modify what it's showing on the screen. Start manipulating the behavior of children when they are in front of a screen. That's why they've been giving free computers for kids, all across the world. It's why they have false flag shootings in schools, and everyone is fighting for gun control versus gun rights. And the fear TV is, blabbering all day long all over the world. It's about installing more security cameras and more face recognition cameras in the schools to keep the children safe. It has nothing to do with shootings. And people need to understand that. So here's an example of how they make money. They could go to top performers in a given class of schools across a state or something, and they group them along with their pathways, as in predictions on where their life is going to go. And they gamble on that based on prodigy asset groups that they form. And the future results will give them all the social and carbon credits and all the cryptocurrency they need. So they're going to make even more money from the broken kids, because then there will be intervention. And when there's intervention, they can do all sorts of more betting on the behavior of kids going forward at different points in time in their career, all the way from cradle to career. So this is just a game to the people who are, manipulating this whole human civilization as we speak. So the emphasis, so if there are any parents in the audience here or grandparents, you need to really understand that if you're sending your kids to schools, private or public, they will have cameras in them. They will be given devices. All the devices are looking at them all the time. And it's not about knowledge. It's all about social and emotional control of the kids. So I can't stress enough, if you have kids, take them out of school, start homeschooling them with your friends and family who are, pretty good at teaching. And now, last month, I think it was late April. Yeah, so late April, and so I'll skip this. But here in Montana, I can change Montana to Sydney, Melbourne, Newcastle, whatever, And there's cameras everywhere. And Montana, I live in a small place, just 4,500 people. The closest town is half an hour away. And when you go there are hundreds and hundreds of smart city lights. It's really disgusting. And we have in our local state legislature, there's a study for facial recognition technology, and that's a complete red herring. So if you start seeing that in states or cities in Australia, just know that banning facial recognition means nothing, because your government, neither your government nor your state nor your local officials are doing facial recognition. So banning it is pointless, because the facial recognition is going to be done in the cloud on Amazon and Google servers with artificial intelligence algorithms, with cameras installed by private companies on public lands, which are now owned by private corporations. So I've been having a very interesting time trying to fight this here. And so if you go to retail stores now, they have cameras at self-checkout counters as well as non-self-checkout counters, because they're looking at everything you're buying. There are 4 facial recognition cameras when you enter any foyer now. So they've established who you are when you enter, and they're going to track you every square foot inside retail stores. And then you have the parking lot panopticons that are looking at all your cars and everybody. And then you have 5 cameras at this entrance. So it just goes on and on. This is not for safety and security. This is to track people, to do data collection, identity as a service, and then your digital ID tied to your behavior, your compliance, what you're buying, when you're buying, who you're with, everything. There's a company called ID.me that is doing public-private partnerships. Their goal is inclusivity, diversity, etc., no identity left behind. And it's also for equity, so everybody's equal. But really, it's about taking your password, combining it with your driver's license, your passwords, and then doing digital selfies to unlock government and services like healthcare or retirement and stuff. So they are going to suck us all into the digital ID system one way or the other. And people need to understand that so that they can say no. Because once we accept the digital identity, it's game over for human civilization. Everybody will be fully controlled, and you will behave in exactly how they want you to behave. B times C times D equals A, where B is biological knowledge that they are picking up through your smartwatches, your PCR tests, your DNA tests. Compute power is all the compute power on the servers. That's unlimited now. They're printing all the money in the world to make as many servers to collect our data and compute. And then the D is the data they're gathering from the smart cities and all the sensors. And so this gives them the ability to hack humans in their transhuman agenda for those people who've been doing research. What we can do, and they're trying to censorize everything, what we can do is to minimize the data we give them. If we are able to take out the sensors, take them down legally, work with your sheriffs and whoever your authorities are, and educate them on what's coming, and tell them that this is going to be really used for extremely nefarious purposes. You cannot get rid of AI. It's already there, and it's the beast. The beast needs food. Data is the food, and the data conduit is all the sensors, the smart city infrastructure, the 5G towers, your telephone, your cameras at home, your microphones at home, cars, and everything. They are the data conduit. So in order to stop the beast, you need to get rid of the data conduit. The data is going to be there because humans are going to do everything all the time, right? We're going to meet our friends, we're going to go here, whatever. So it's the data conduit which needs to be addressed. You can't address the data, you can't address AI. Because data and the sensors, they feed the beast. I'll say it again. And so the final lockdown requires cameras and face recognition sold to us as privacy and security. And that face is now used for digital ID, which is linked to a central banking digital currency. And that's the final lockdown. So we are always in lockdown mode, always. And so call to action is no digital ID, which means no face recognition, no cameras. Look up and observe. Cameras, LED lights, street lights, smart cities. These are installed incrementally, and they are done at night, and people are looking at their phones, so they don't observe what's being done to them. You know, parents, go to your schools and take action. There are cameras in, parking lots, in the hallways, in the laptops, and everywhere. So your kids are being monitored. and the SES scoring is begun, and they are being manipulated. And figure out in your areas who installed, authorized, and funded the smart city surveillance infrastructure. I've managed to decode it here. But it's very hard for the local politicians right now. They're finding it very hard to kind of address these issues. So we have to come up with other creative ways to address this. And if anyone wants to reach out to me independently, I can, share with them, what all I've uncovered and how they've done it so successfully. Right. So, but the real thing is that in your local neighborhoods, we, the people, didn't ask for these monstrosities. We don't want them. And we need to let everybody know that. It's our land. We are living here. We don't want
It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.